Intuitive Life and Business Sparks, your podcast to reconnect to your intuition, to lead a life to the fullest from your heart with health, wealth, happiness and deep connection with yourself and others. Thank you for letting me serve. Welcome to Intuitive Life and Business Sparks podcast, your podcast to reconnect to your intuition. Today I have a wonderful guest, Julia Gruber, and I'm so happy and grateful that she was agreeing to join this podcast today. Thank you very much for being here, Julia.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
We have met quite a few years ago, and Julia is a nutrition expert, and her core expertise is the gut. And what I love so much about Julia is her really undogmatic style to look at the topic of nutrition, and also to, it's not that you have to do this and you're not allowed to, but she's clear what's not healthy for us, but she's not telling you how you should, it's not going to extremes. And that's what I love about Julia's approach. And why I have invited her, because nutrition is maybe not the first thing you think about when you think about intuition, is intuitive eating. And I have watched my children eating very funny things during the day. For example, my youngest one is eating lemons and ice cubes and salami. So was a very funny combination. And when I thought about this and about the intuition of a child, what she's wanting to eat and how they're approaching all that, I thought of Julia. And that's why she's here in this podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to speaking with you and exploring a little bit about intuition.
Yes. So could you share how you got to this topic, nutrition? I read a little bit about it, but maybe it's better if you tell me how you found this topic.
Well, actually, I grew up with parents who always thought that food and eating well was very important. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she always cooked fresh, and that was still is actually a big hobby of hers. So she cooks every day, and always with fresh ingredients. And I guess that is where the love for food came from. And actually, my brother and me, we both ended up in the hospitality industry. So he was a chef and a waiter, and I did hotel management school. So I guess that was also due to that influence of wanting to eat well. But then I actually, after having worked in a hotel, I ended up in IT. So I worked for an IT company. And so I didn't really choose nutrition. It chose me, I guess, because I met my husband and he already had his business, which was a nutrition business, actually based on his sports career a little bit. So he was doing blood tests and testing for vitamin and mineral deficiencies, and then, putting together vitamin mixtures for his clients. And so that's when I met him. And I started to helping out on the weekends, because usually, sports events are always on the weekends. And so we went to different sports events and talking about the topic. And then I started writing for him, because he's not such a writer, and also started helping him with his website. And so I got into the topic more and more. And of course, I did also blood tests for myself and got my vitamins and everything. And that's how it all started. And then he actually suggested, don't you want to help a little bit more? You could do like a nutrition education, and then maybe talk about eating with my clients, because he was not really into talking about, food and cooking and all those things. So that's how I got started. And then I personally never had a problem like overweight or even gut problems or anything like that, like not something serious in any case. But I realized how much my clients changed and how happy they got, and how, it was not only about the weight, it was just about their whole being. They came back after 14 days of nutrition change, and they were so happy, and they said, I have more self-confidence and I feel more creative and I sleep better, and like so many things. And that's when I really got even more interested in the whole thing. Just observing how food can really change not only your weight, but really your way of being.
That's so beautiful to hear. And also, when I read your testimonials, that there are really people with chronic illness which have been, diagnosed by medical doctors, and their life has so much improved by changing their nutrition, and how much this is also still neglected by so many people. It's usually when they're at a very late stage, they start to think about nutrition and the impact this food has on our whole being, as you say, is just incredible.
Yeah, we're literally made of what we ate. And I think a lot of people are not aware of that. Because if the body wants to repair something, or he wants to, produce hormones or everything that he's making, my hair, my skin, where should it get the building blocks if not from food?
And I think the title of your podcast series is so perfect, because it's called Gut Happiness. Is that the right translation, or what would you call it?
It's a little bit hard to translate. Because for me it has like a double meaning. So I mean, it's on the one hand it's happiness, it's happiness of the intestine, but it's also happiness in your life, kinda. So it's a little bit it's a little bit difficult to translate.
But that's what you're trying to teach, or that's your message, that once we realize how important the nutrition is and the health of our gastrointestinal tract influences this being and this vitality of our body. So you said you were, food was very important in your family. And if you have clients which didn't have this background or this healthy basis of relation to food, where do you start? How do you get them into a healthy relation to food and to cooking?
By just doing it, kind of. I mean, for me, it's always important to help my clients see why are they coming to me and why are they interested in changing their nutrition. So what is the end result or the end goal? And we don't stop at, like if somebody says, I want to lose 10 kilo or I want to get rid of my diarrhea, that's not something that it is worth really changing your life for, right? So there's always a reason behind it. So why do you want to get rid of your diarrhea, for example? And I had a client who worked as an insurance company or in an insurance company. So he had to go for lunches very often with clients, and he had diarrhea. So especially when he ate. So he was not comfortable going or taking clients for lunch because he had to go to the toilet like 3 or 4 times during the lunch, right? So he was very embarrassed. And that for me is so much stronger that you think, okay, I can take my clients very confidently to a restaurant knowing that I will be fine. So that for me is like, okay, it's a good starting point to really, be willing to try it out. And then in the end, I just give them, for me, it's always easier to give them a few rules and tell them, just do it for 14 days and see what happens, And I'm pretty confident then that for really most people, I would say 95%, during 14 days, you will have a result. If you are strict and if you follow the rules. So I'm not a big fan of really strict rules in general, but when you want to change your nutrition and when you want to check whether there is really an impact of food, I'm a very big believer in doing it quite radically at the beginning. So the more radical you do it at the beginning, the sooner you can actually, change it up and make it easier. But the first 2 weeks is always a very good idea to be very strict. And then, the probability that you will have a good result is way higher. And if people after 14 days come and tell me, my diarrhea stopped, or I sleep better, or I have more energy when I wake up, or I just have a better mood. So then that is for me the proof, and they can feel the proof in their own body. And then I don't have to convince them anymore because they can feel the difference. So that is my approach.
That's great. You let them find out by themselves.
Yeah.
They're probably surprised that it only takes 2 weeks to, to feel better without medication or anything. It's.
It sometimes only takes a few days, actually. I think the record holder is a young woman who told me after 1 day that her brain fog was gone after 1 day.
When you talk about these strict rules for the first days, are they all the same for everybody, or are they tailor-made for, individuals?
When we talk about gut health, they're all the same for everyone, the way I teach it. Not because I don't think they are individuals, but it's more like a reset, and it's more like we leave out everything that could potentially harm. So I do the same for everyone. And I've been criticized for that also by doctors that tell me you cannot treat everyone the same. And I say, well, later on, of course, we're not going to treat everyone the same. And it's different if somebody has a chronic illness or somebody else is just, just wants to get rid of his bloating or something. That is not the same, of course. But at the beginning, everyone can follow the same rules. It's more like a detox or reset or something like that.
Yeah, you said like a reset button, and then there's a place to start from, more or less.
Exactly.
To build up.
Yeah, exactly.
When you say they realize that their mood changes, you talk to very many different experts, so you know the proof of that. Can you share some knowledge from that insight, more or less?
Well, there is the gut-brain axis, how they call it. So there is really a connection between the gut and the brain, and there are certain hormones or neurotransmitters that are actually produced in the gut and not in the brain. So serotonin is one of them, for example, and serotonin is something that many people know under the name of the happiness hormone. So and people tend to think that it's produced in the brain, but it's actually for a very big portion produced in the gut. So there you can already see that when you let's say balance out your gut, you can also produce more of the serotonin that actually helps you to have a good mood. So that could be one explanation. I mean, there's so many connections, like fatty acids that we have in the brain, or they say, for example, a lot of people have heard of leaky gut. So that is like as if you had little holes in the gut. And they say there's also something like leaky brain, and it's connected to the gut. And so there are certain things from foods that can get into the brain actually and cause damage there, like certain anti-nutrients. I just heard one expert talk about that. So there is a direct connection between what we eat and our brain. And also Alzheimer's, for example, I mean, that's not about mood, but it's still about the brain, is said to be diabetes type 3. So, there is a connection between what we eat and how our brain works.
Wow, there are so many places to go from here. Yeah, I just thought about, this serotonin and the thing we say, I have a gut feeling, and me calling this podcast intuition. Of course, many people say intuition is something like a gut feeling. What I personally have realized that by leaving out certain nutrients, probably similar to your detox, my gut feeling or my intuition, my sensitive senses have improved a lot, because, as you said, from a customer, this foggy head or like messy thinking it's a lot clearer when the nutrition is clear. And it's fresh and it's not industrialized and so on. Would you like, or could you share your strict, I think you have like 5 things which are really important to like detox or do this restart to get. I would say it would be good for many people or for anybody to like try it out and just see what it makes with your own senses even and what happens.
Yeah, well, so it's for the 14 days, I suggest that you completely cut grains from your diet. So no grains at all. It's not only gluten, but it's all grains. It's sugars and alcohol, of course. It's like no industrial food, only real food. No dairy. So that's, I think, the biggest things. And only eat 3 times a day. So no snacking or grazing. Drink enough of water is important. Eat slowly, chew well. Hope I'm not forgetting anything, but that's about it. I mean, it's very maybe also no how do you call them, like chickpeas and lentils and like the pulses, you leave them out as well. So also no soy, because soy is also a bean.
And when you say no sugar, do you mean fruits too?
No, you can have fruit, but I wouldn't recommend to eat too much fruit anyways, because fruit has a lot of sugar. Like 1 apple has 10 grams of sugar. So we're genetically programmed to 30 grams of sugar per day. So with 3 apples, you're already at the 30 grams. And so let alone if you drink smoothies or juices, or, even an orange juice that you freshly press has the same amount of sugar than a Coke. So I think a lot of people are not aware of how much sugar they actually consume. And talking about moods, by the way, I think for a lot of people, these mood swings are actually due to sugar levels spiraling up and down. And they even call it hangry. I really like that term, which is a combination of hungry and angry. So, when you get that, like you getting angry because you need to eat something, and you're getting like really bad mood because you don't have anything on you, that is a very clear sign that you have a sugar problem.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. I used to have that. I was getting very unpleasant when I was hungry.
Yeah.
But it changed. That's true.
Yeah, because I mean, a human being can be without food for a day, even more, but easily for a day. Anyone can go without eating for a day. It's really not that hard. Unless if you're always in that sugar roller coaster, you cannot go not even one day without eating.
Could it be that our attitude to hunger is also one of the, we're having this discussion about not snacking. And for example, already children are trained to go and have their snack in between. And I had big discussions with my husband because he doesn't like snacking too. So I thought I have to give the kids a snack because then they're the only ones who are not eating. What do you think there? Is it also okay for kids?
Well, kids, as you said, they have, usually when they're small, they still have that intuitive eating. So they know when they need something, unless if you give them too much sugar. Sugar is really going to override these signals. And, then they always want to have something sweet, right? So they could ask you every 30 minutes, I guess, for something. But if you don't give them sugar, you can pretty much be confident that they will eat when they are hungry. I mean, it's a little bit difficult in our society, right? Because maybe you have them, with in kindergarten or somewhere, and they have to eat at 12, and they have to, like it's at 9 o'clock in Switzerland, there's the Znüni, and as you said, I mean, it's probably difficult if all the friends have something to eat and they don't, and it may look weird and they don't belong. But if all those societal things were not there, and if you would let your kids just eat whenever they are hungry, I'm pretty sure they would not eat all the time. And I mean, I don't have kids, so I can't really speak from experience, but I can maybe speak from when I was little. First of all, we didn't have snacks all the time. I really can't remember. I was not somebody who always had an apple for, like as a snack or something. I was allowed to eat, and if I wanted, and of course we also had Znüni and Spheri sometimes, but I don't think I always had it. And I remember that there were times when I was reading or playing or doing something, I completely forgot about time. And I was not hungry. I wouldn't. And sometimes I see parents kind of almost forcing their kids, you have to eat now. And, I mean, of course you have dinner time and you have lunchtime and everything, but in between, why would you even want to force something to eat on your kids? I don't think that's necessary. Because if they wanted to eat, they would ask for it. But maybe they're playing, maybe they're doing something different. There's no need to eat all the time. And if you think about, our genes or our genetic making, we were not eating all the time because there was no food all the time.
That's what I mean with the hunger feeling, or we were brought up maybe in this belief, when you're hungry, you have to eat. And like just to watch what happens once you're hungry, maybe even watch your own moods, so how they might change when the hunger starts, and see what happens. I like this intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
I think it's quite interesting to like just watch myself, what happens, and that I usually have more energy when I do it, even if it's, even if I give less nutrients to my body, the energy is still quite good. So that's maybe also the reason why I wanted to talk about this intuitive eating, to like be more aware and be more mindful about what I eat, and also how often and what happens to myself and my body when I've eaten, and maybe also find out which nutrients are maybe not doing well for me or not.
Yeah.
All these like small signals maybe, but still be aware of it and like just decide for yourself what you want to eat or what's the consequence of things I'm eating.
Mm-hmm.
So more or less that way.
Yeah. There's a fun little exercise that your listeners can try at home. Just pick 5 different breakfasts for 5 days of the week, right? You can do it with your kids, actually. So maybe one day you eat the muesli, one day you eat yogurt with fruit, one day you eat maybe scrambled eggs with even could be with vegetables. Why not? I mean, scrambled eggs with some, mushrooms or something. So pick 5 different things for the 5 days of the week, and then just observe yourself directly after having eaten it. Like, how do I feel? Am I full? How is my, how's my stomach? How do I feel? And 2 hours later, how am I doing then? And then right before lunch. And ideally, you even write it down. But if you do it as a family, you can also just talk to everyone and, just show them how to maybe also observe your body a little bit, how to observe what you're thinking, how to observe, am I hungry after 2 hours or did it last until lunch? Right? So that is a fun little exercise that anyone can do. And I think it helps us also to maybe realize, am I satisfied with what I ate, for example, also? Or hunger can actually be also a sign of I'm bored or I'm sad or I'm angry. So whenever you feel hungry, ask yourself, is it really hungry? Or what did I just think? Or what did just happen? And oftentimes it's not even hunger. And also wait for a few minutes. I'm not saying you have to stay starving or something, but let's say you feel hungry. Wait for 2 minutes or 3 or 4. And do something, maybe do something pleasant. And then observe, are you still hungry? Because it may very well be that you're not hungry anymore.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a very important point. Food has been, I think, for a long time, a compensation tool for all these emotions, which we try to suppress, or we couldn't read them or we didn't want to feel them. So food can give a lot of layer over that, and you make your body work other ways instead of transforming these emotions and letting them out and feeling them. Sometimes it just hurts too much, so you better, or that was like the, how should I say, the impulse we get to eat instead of feeling. Would you say that this is also a question of a generation, that there are generations or people of maybe, I would say our parents maybe, or the people later, that they had this impulse because after the war it started to become more important to have, they have more food, so they could treat themselves to this food. Do you have this observation or?
Well, not really observation, but I think, there are studies that show that people were very healthy after the war. Actually, the war was good for health in that sense. So, diabetes went down and a lot of things went down after the war because we just didn't have this overeating, I guess. So that, yes. And then I think in former times there was just not this same availability of food. Like you didn't have food everywhere, and you have the little shops or the vending machines. And I mean, nowadays, even in the post office, you have food in front of you. I mean, I wouldn't call that food, but there is like sweets and candy and stuff. There's like wherever you go, almost everywhere you find these things, right? Or also in the offices, you always have these jars with food in it. Or if it's a company that thinks they want to be more healthy, they offer fruit platters and things like that. But why do you have to make food so available and visible everywhere? So I think that is a difference. And also, I mean, you know that portion sizes have gotten way bigger. I mean, when we were small, you know, when you bought, I don't know, some chips or crisps, they were a small package, right? Nowadays, these small packages don't even exist anymore. Like the smallest one is way bigger than what we ever had. Or, you know, even like the energy drinks are getting bigger, and everything is just, the portions have really gone bigger. And I'm pretty sure that our parents and grandparents, they just had smaller portions. Also in restaurants, or and the interesting thing is I have a program that I don't do that often anymore, but I still do sometimes. And there also you have the first 14 days, you have like a very strict eating protocol, and the portions are really small. So the interesting thing is that people first, when they see it, they are saying, wow, this can never be enough. And they realize it is enough. So that's also really interesting, that our eyes tell us this cannot be enough. But when you eat it slowly and you enjoy it, and if it's good quality food also, I mean, not all food is going to really fill you up, right? So if you eat so-called fast carbohydrates, like you know, like white bread or things like that, you can eat way more, or you need to eat way more until you're really full. And of certain other things, if you have a good fat and a good protein and some veggies with it, you need way less to get full. So that's also interesting, the portion size. And well, if we talk about intuitive eating, I also think that what is really important is, are you really enjoying your food? Are you, you know, also cooking it in a way that it tastes nice? So a lot of people think, yeah, healthy food is just like healthy, but it's not nice. But if you use, you know, herbs and really spices and things that really make the food taste delicious, then you're much more satisfied, and you don't need any sweet after it. So there's like so many things that play into it. And eating slowly and chewing, how many people are just, you know, gobbling their food down without even, you know, enjoying it. And the chewing part is really very important. And I know it sounds very boring, but that's also an exercise that you can do also with your kids, by the way. Just have one meal together where everyone has to chew their food until it's liquid before they're allowed to swallow it. Just do that. Do it with your kids. It's fun.
And make it like a game.
Yeah, you can even say who swallows first loses. So
exactly, that would work.
I mean, it's not that easy actually not to swallow, because we have that reflex to swallow, right? But when you do that, I did that once. Actually, it was really interesting. I did it in a public place in a Migo restaurant, where everyone is, you know, eating very fast, and I really chewed my food really, really well. And the interesting thing was, I was not able to finish my food because I was full before. So that's also a very interesting experience. And and I invite everyone who listens to it, just try it out for once. Like, really chew your food well, and you're going to notice that you probably are not able to finish the whole portion that you usually eat easily.
That's so interesting. And you reminded me of the book Darm with Charme. I don't know the translation, but there was a medical student, I think she was still in medical school when she wrote that book about the digestion. And she said the digestion starts in your mouth, and many people forget this. And so the whole chewing, biting process is so important too, because there it really starts. And being a vet and watching the cows regurgitating and chewing again, it's it's very clear that this is an important part of our digestion.
True.
Yeah. Wow, so we have so many tips now to use. It's great. I hope I can make the right show notes for all these good tips. One last thing I would like to emphasize or really put light on is, now in all these discussions about the situation we're in, about coronavirus, we both agreed that the immunity, or how we could strengthen our own immunity and support our own immunity and vitality, is being a bit, it's not talked that much about that. So do you have a few insights how we could support through our nutrition, our immunity?
Well, if you eat a gut healthy diet, and I think I already explained a little bit how that would work, you are strengthening your immune system. So 80% of our immune system lies in the gut. So by just eating real food, cutting out sugar and processed foods, and leaving out the especially gluten and dairy and things like that, because all those foods are inflammatory, and we want to eat anti-inflammatory. And they actually even, I read that somewhere, that there is a connection between the severity of corona and having inflammation in the body. So anything that you can do to reduce inflammation will help your immune system, of course. So basically, that is, eating well is a direct influence. And we both know Jim Fortin, right? So he's somebody who has a coaching program, and he works with a shaman. And I met with that shaman once or twice, actually. And he also talks about nutrition and the importance that it has for our well-being, right? And Jim asked him, what can we do against corona? And one of the things that shaman said is cut out sugar. So there are connections, and it would be easy, but nobody talks about it. And so you can really do a lot. And if you want to actively actually take something to even enhance your immunity a little bit more, I would say probably fermented foods would be a good idea, like kimchi, sauerkraut, things like that. Ferment your own food or buy it, but it has to be raw fermented food, because as soon as it's pasteurized or cooked or anything, the bacteria is dead. So the bacteria that is actually doing the fermentation is also helping your gut, and therefore strengthening your immune system. And another thing would be vitamin D. So I would really highly recommend everyone should check their vitamin D levels. And if they're low, take vitamin D.
Yeah, that's great. It's, I think one of the reasons why this is not shared so much is you can't earn that much money by telling people they should cut out sugar.
I don't know. Yeah, that is probably one of the reasons. But there are so many responsible people who like to help others, and even they are not talking about it because it's just not a popular subject. And I was even told that it was a conspiracy theory, me suggesting that you can strengthen your immune system with food. And I can assure you, this is not conspiracy theory. We can do a lot. And if we had an immune system that was working well, we would not have to fear a virus like corona or like the seasonal flu. Because if we're honest, the seasonal flu is just as dangerous in terms of, how many people die every year of the seasonal flu. People tend to forget, but it's super dangerous actually. And that's why it's so important to strengthen our immune system.
It feels it's like the root of the tree to like be healthy and keep healthy. Yes. and to grow even from there. It's not just the basis of health, it's also of happiness and of development. You say people get more creative, people, their mood changes, and with that their whole life changes. So that's really, for me, the gut is also the symbol of the root of the tree, and from there we can strengthen and grow. And I absolutely agree with with you saying that we are made to cope with those viruses, also the flu, and there are many deaths with flu too. So this is another topic, but yeah, I agree with our self. It's our own responsibility to take care of ourselves and to take care of our health. We can't just relax and think we wait for somebody to cure us or whatever. So
yeah, exactly.
That's what I like about your approach, and about it feels like taking your health again into your own hands and doing something with it by looking at nutrition and at what food does to us and how it can support our life, more or less.
Yeah, everything depends on how well you feel in your body, because everyone knows if you are in pain, if you are tired constantly, if you cannot concentrate, are you really gonna tackle those projects that are important to you? Probably not. You're gonna maybe go to work and do what has to be done. But all the things that make your life so special, the things that you're passionate about, and those are always the things that suffer first, right? That are not done because you don't have the strength for it. You don't have the energy for it. And that I really think is a pity, because you're not living your potential, because your body is keeping you from it. And it's not your body, it's the way you treat your body.
Would you agree that this is also like an act of self-love to take this care, and even if it's maybe at the beginning it's a bit strange to change some habits which have been, it's been done for generations or whatever, it's tradition and all that, to take this responsibility back to yourself and see, I go my way. Which way this will be, I don't know, but I will check it out and find out what does me good, and which nutrition fits my life.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the ultimate, for me, that is the ultimate goal of eating healthy. It's not I want to look slim or young or whatever. It's I want to be able to live the life that I always wanted to live. And that only works if my body is strong and if I have enough energy and if I'm happy, because otherwise I'm not going to do it.
That's great. I'm so happy for this. I think we found a good end. It's really, we agree on this both. And if you're inspired by the words of Julia, and if you want to learn more, her homepage is in German, right?
Yes,
and she also has a podcast, Darmglück. And what I also like is her freebie. It's a sugar quiz. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And Julia has also a course called Darmglück.
Exactly.
And it's all in German, but I know that a few of my listeners are German or know German, so I will link all these things for you in the show notes.
Yeah, and I have 2 things that I can offer in English. One is that nutrition program that I was talking about that can be done in English. Cool. And the other thing is the intestinal analysis. So if somebody really has problems with their intestine, it's like a stool test. And the result will come in German, but I can explain it in English. So that wouldn't be a problem to actually do that in English.
That's great. Thank you so much. Yeah. Do we have anything to add, or is that okay for you like this?
Yeah,
like to have a final word.
A final word. I just want to encourage everyone listening, just, treat your body well and take responsibility for it, and don't delegate your health to somebody else. You're the best expert when it comes to your body, and just claim that responsibility and act accordingly.
Yeah. Wow. So good. I can't agree more. It's really about taking this responsibility and feeling what happens to me and how do I want to live. It's your life, it's your decision, whatever you do. And you have a right to live a healthy life and a life where you can like follow your dreams and you have enough energy for them. So that was it. Thank you so much for being my guest in my podcast, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. Bye, Barbara.
Bye, Julia. Hey, thanks a lot for listening. I have a new meditation as a freebie on my homepage. And if you would like to have a glimpse or get a glimpse of my work and options to meditate and gain back your strength, your self-empowerment, hop over to my homepage and find this free meditation. Thank you for letting me serve.